Now, it's been a big day for housing news. The Labour Party's announced it will allow building on the Green Belt to get more houses, though only where it doesn't affect the beauty of the countryside, while the government has announced changes for landlords and tenants in England. The so-called Section 21 no-fault evictions, believed to be the leading cause of homelessness, are to be abolished. In addition, tenants will be given the legal right to ask for a pet in their home, and that can no longer be unreasonably refused by landlords. And landlords may no longer impose blanket bans on renting to tenants on benefits or who have children. Clarion, which is the biggest provider of social housing in the country and has faced its own complaints in the past about conditions in some of its properties, is a really important voice in this debate, and Claire Miller is its chief executive. Claire Miller, thanks for talking to me. Can I just ask, first of all, these are changes being made by the government in the law covering private rentals. Will they ultimately affect companies like Clarion? In other words, if the private rental market is, as some suggest, going to be throttled a bit by this, will you have more people knocking on your door?
Well, it's great to see that the government are taking these steps in the private rented sector, but these are steps that already apply largely in the social sector. Certainly, you can have a pet, and we would never reasonably withhold permission to have so, and we rarely evict. We do work with our residents to make sure that they are able to sustain their tenancies. And in the rare cases where we would evict, it is mostly to protect other residents from antisocial behaviour.
So this is an important reform by the government. I mean, some landlords are suggesting it's making life too hard for them. The harder it is to get rid of tenants, the fewer people will become landlords in the first place. And there is still a big shortage of rental housing of all kinds, isn't there?
There is, absolutely. And of course, you know, the private rented sector, having a healthy, vibrant private rented sector is an important element, not just having a healthy social sector, because as you point out, there is insufficient homes to rent across the country. We've got over 1 million people languishing on local authority housing waiting lists at the moment. There's severe overcrowding in the accommodation that we have in the social sector. And what is almost a national disgrace is that there are 600,000 children living in temporary accommodation now. And that, in a country as wealthy as Britain, is something terrible.
Those are shocking figures, Claire. You're absolutely right. So I turn to the announcement from the Labour leader, Keir Starmer, today, that they will be prepared to allow building on what is currently the Green Belt, though not on the really, really pretty bits of it. Is this the kind of big change from central government, in your view, we need to see to get the extra houses the country needs so badly, including, of course, social housing?
Well, it's absolutely great to see senior politicians of any colour throwing the spotlight on what is a national housing crisis. So, yes, I very much welcome the attention that has been given to this today. But I wouldn't dismiss the concerns of local communities who fear new building in their place. And I think it is beholden on organisations like my own that build new homes to make sure that when we are doing so at scale, we are working alongside local communities and making places that are sustainable for the long term with the right infrastructure, the right services, and making those places communities that people can put down roots in for the long run.
And finally, Claire, how do you ensure that in new developments of any kind there is enough social housing? Because, of course, the developers want to put the expensive houses first and make a good profit on them, but we need social housing.
So we work very hard. We built 2,000 homes last year, and nearly 80% of those were affordable tenures. So it is right at the top of my priority list to make sure that we have social and affordable tenures on any of the schemes that we're developing. But of course, we are reliant upon government grant and support in order to be able to fund those things. And when you're talking about new homes, the level of grant that we receive is not generous. If you're talking about regenerating existing homes, the level of grant is non-existent, and both of those things need to be addressed.
Well, we'll see if they are in due course. Claire Miller, CEO of Clarion, thanks very much for talking to LBC tonight.